G'day folks, this is Joel from the WeSChem, that's the Cost Effective Machinery and Vehicle Additives channel. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about servicing your own vehicle. Now it's not as hard as you'd think. A lot of people shy away from it. Oh, I'm not a mechanic, I'm not this, I'm not that. But realistically, if you can get a packet of jelly, read the instructions, tip the prescribed amount of water and jelly into a bowl and mix it up, that's about as hard as it is to service your own vehicle. So we're just going to discuss a few things that you'll need, and even if you don't do your own servicing, if you do take it to a garage, it's a good thing just to be aware of what happens, that they're sort of not giving you this black magic, you know, it's all special and secretive, because it's really not that complicated. So first of all, you're going to need an oil. Now I buy my oils in bulk, but you can buy them in the 5 litre or less. Now this here is a 20 litre and it's a multi-grade oil that works in both your early model diesels as well as your petrols. So this oil will suit this car, and basically if you grab the handbook and you go to an oil place, they'll be able to give you an oil that suits your car. Now you're going to need filters, which basically I went to the filter shop, gave them my number plate, and they were able to give me all the filters I need for my vehicle. So air filters, fuel filters, oil filters, the whole works. The next thing you're going to need, because most cars are pretty low and you've got to climb under to undo the bung in the sump, so you're going to need a set of ramps. Well, I went down to Autobarn and bought these ramps. Now these ramps are just plastic, they're nice and light, they're easy to use. They're rated for 2,400 kilos per pair, or 1,200 kilos each. So you'd be able to put a reasonably light 4-wheel drive, certainly any sedan will fit. The reason I had to get these is I have a big pair of steel ramps, but you can't drive any low profile car up because the bumper hits. These are great. So a set of ramps. You're going to need some tools. There's a Stanley kit, it's about 200 bucks. It's got most things that you'll need in it. Pick that up from Bunnings. You're going to need a jug to be able to measure out the appropriate amount of oil. You're going to need a couple of filters. You're going to need a clean one for the oil to tip into the engine. This is my dirty one that when I'm finished, I tip all my oil into my sump oil drum, which is an empty oil bottle, and this is my oil drain bottle. So basically we unscrew the bung here, pop that off, the oil drains in there, fills it up. When I'm finished I tighten them up, undo the lid, put my funnel in my sump, tip it into there. Once I fill that, I take that down to the local collection depot at Cleanaway and they take the sump oil away. So that's basically the few things that you're going to need, and maybe a creeper. I find that I can't really use a creeper under low cars because by the time I lay on that there's not enough room, so I just slide under there myself. And of course the range of cost-effective additives, if you really want to get the best out of your car and make it last, get the best performance, the best fuel economy, and alleviate any problems down the track, I would highly recommend that you use cost-effective products. And of course, the first and foremost one that I like to tell people to use is the flushing oil compound. Clean that engine out, get it back to nice, clean metal surfaces, and get rid of all the carbon from the bottom of the rings, get rid of all the sludge that's in the engine. And really, when you think of it, you got a dishwasher, for instance, you know, once 6 months, or depends how much you use it, you stick a flush through it, don't you, to clean it out. You sink. You don't just let the water drain out and you leave all the bits of bean and potato and meat in there. You wash it all down, you get a curly girl and you scrub it out and you make it clean. Well, you think when you drain that oil out of the engine, if you've been sitting, say you sat at a train crossing for 20 minutes while a 200 carriage coal train goes past and it's all carboned up, that stain sits there, and eventually your engine builds up with rubbish inside it. Now when you drain the oil, all you're doing is just like letting that water out. You're not giving it a clean. If you use a flushing compound, it will clean it out. The first dose is high, the second and subsequent doses are lower because you've got it clean. Keep it clean. And the next thing I would recommend is the anti-wear, because this stuff really, you can tell. You take it out, take it for a lap, put the anti-wear in it, and within, give you 10 minutes, you'll see you've got increased performance. Of course, in your fuel injection system, these days we've got common rails. They cost a lot of money if you have problems. So in a petrol, you've got the Clean Power fuel additive. That goes through and keeps all your injectors clean, all your pipes, your fuel pump clean and lubricated, and avoids any problem. If you've got a diesel, common rail, then you want the CRD enhancer, which is the perfect thing for your diesels. Of course, you've got your radiator. Don't forget your RMI, which keeps all the corrosion at bay. In fact, with this stuff, all you need is water and the RMI. You don't need glycol in the hot climates where we are, because we don't have engines freezing. If you're down south, you might need it, but up here, this is all you need. And of course, there's another area that a lot of people don't think about. When the exhaust comes out of your engine, a lot of cars have turbos, and of course they're spun by exhaust gases. Well, if you've got soot and particulates in your exhaust gases, they stick to that turbine, and eventually it gets built up. We actually had one of our vehicles here that had really bad turbo lag. Until you got to 60 k's an hour, it was terrible. It would just sit there. Now, we use this product, which is called FTC Decarbonizer. Now, basically, it's a fuel catalyst. You can use it in petrol or diesels. You put the prescribed amount in the tank, obviously a high dosage first, and when it comes out, it burns the carbon. So even in the tops of your pistons, it burns all the carbon away, all the valve stems, right through your exhaust, your turbo, right through even your DPF, your DEF out the exhaust. It burns all that carbon off. Now, you don't get excess fuel coming out and clogging things up, because once you mix this with it, the fuel ignites. You get 100% ignition, and so it keeps your exhaust a lot cleaner. And then we've got, as I said, an Epica here that we use that on, and now that car is different to drive. If you touch the accelerator at any speed below 60 k's, it's got the full works of cost-effective maintenance in it. That thing rockets, whereas before you could push your foot flat to the floor, and until it hit 60 k's, it had a really severe turbo lag. Well, folks, that's a little bit about servicing. It's not as hard as you'd think, and you can give it a go yourself. If anyone wants any information, feel free to leave comments. More than happy to help. Also, a couple little items that help are some measurers that you can pour your additives out. A lot of them have the measuring additive on here that you can put in, but sometimes that's a bit hard to tip into fuel tanks and so forth. So I've got a little small funnel and some graded measurers that you can tip the amount in and tip it in. This is not normally the box. Our dog decided she'd like to help in the process and tore the other box up, so I've had to borrow a box off Mum. But that's basically what you get with the cost-effective pack. That's with the diesel pack you get the CRD, with the petrol pack you get the Clean Power, and it's really good stuff to make your car work at its best efficiency and run for as long as possible with the least amount of breakdowns. Well, folks, we'll catch you next time. This is Joel from WeScam. Like and subscribe and tune into our channel. Cheers, folks.